What's up, you guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays, 4Ks, and DVDs, however you like to buy and own and collect your movies and TV shows and concert videos and documentaries, all that stuff. Anything you want to watch on a screen, you buy it on a piece of physical media, then you're in the right spot. I'm going to do a rant today. So if you're new to the channel, this is a good time to subscribe and share your thoughts because I think this is going to be a really good conversation piece for us. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of my upcoming uploads. I do unboxings. Apparently I do rants. I do live streams, all that stuff. So let's get into it. Today what I want to talk about is the hyperbolic nature of some things I'm seeing in our community as of late. And I don't know if it's people who are newer to collecting that just aren't aware of this and are finding it out the hard way, or if it's just for shits and clicks. You know, I'm not sure. But the big thing that I'm talking about, and that has kind of like shocked me, the level of hyperbolic commentary that I'm seeing, is what I like to call the early adopter tax. The early adopter tax is simply this. You're hyped for something, you're a collector, you buy it, and it gets reissued in a nicer version later, and you have to buy that one too, or maybe you don't. And I see people recently losing their minds about this because sometimes the turnaround time is much shorter than it once was. This is not new. This has always been this way. And it's not just this way with physical media, with movies. It's with electronics, with all kinds of things. There's always a new phone coming out. 3, 4, 5, 6 months from whenever you bought your phone. I had to upgrade my computer. I use a MacBook Pro. I had to upgrade it just because the old one that's still sitting back there overheats when I edit video. I did that in August. The new MacBook Pro freaking came out in October. It sucked. But that is life, you guys. And I don't mean to be cold about it, but this is just, to be so mad about this is silly. To say that, oh, it's okay if you release a Blu-ray and then it takes a year or 2 years for the 4K to come out, then that's okay. But if you release a Blu-ray and then 2 months later, 3 months later, you drop a 4K, well, then now I'm mad. Well, there's a lot of things that go into play with that and the reason that is happening. And, you know, all of us analysts can sit out here and armchair analyze, and we may have some parts of it right, we may have some parts of it wrong, but I'm going to tell you how I feel about it and why I think it happens in specific cases. So, first of all, I'm going to show you a few examples of how it's happened to me. I bought this Silence of the Lambs Criterion release. I love it. It is a very nice Blu-ray transfer, chock full of bonus features. Very nice set. Now, I didn't buy it right when it came out. I held off on it, you know. It was on my radar, but I waited to buy the movie when I wanted to watch it. And it just so happened that within 6 months of me doing that, Kino Lorber put out the 4K, which I have back there too. I just didn't want to pull it off the shelf. Probably the most painful one of those was this one, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I had been really wanting to watch this movie for a long time, and it was out of print here. It was a Scream Factory release. So I finally broke down and imported this Arrow video release, which is a very fine, very nice release. Within 6 months of doing that, again, Kino Lorber puts out a 4K. I think one of currently the biggest issue is with Paramount Presents. I don't have many of these. This is one of my favorite Paramount Presents, not because it's such a great release, but because I just really like this movie, and I hadn't had a good copy of it in a long time. Because Paramount Presents started with Blu-ray, and they would give us these cool slips, and sometimes, for example, early on in Paramount Presents, Days of Thunder came out in a 4K and a Paramount Presents release at the same time. I will admit that annoyed the heck out of me because why couldn't they give me the 4K with this slip? Because that only makes sense for collectors. If you're really approaching collectors, then you should be putting out the highest quality version of the film in nice packaging, because that's what most of us want. Not all of us. There's plenty of guys out here still collecting DVDs. And that's fine. That's how they choose to collect. There's people collecting VHS. That's fine too. So now Paramount has been reissuing a lot of these Presents titles in 4Ks. And it looks like they're reissuing them as standard 4Ks and not Presents line. They're not getting the slip and all that stuff. And some people are upset about it. Some people are okay because it's, they've had it for a year. What I want to know is what changed about this Blu-ray in a year? What changed? Is it because in your mind, it depreciated enough in value that it's okay for me to buy it new again? Nothing changed. If you're mad that they put out a 4K and you really liked the Blu-ray when you bought it, keep the Blu-ray. Wait for the 4K to go on sale. I don't understand the weird anger that's happening over this stuff right now. A few things in particular that I see coming up. And I know I'm sounding mad. It's like, come on, guys. This is how it works. And it's going to work this way even more now that our market is smaller. X and Min, all right, both came out in a Blu-ray. Now, anyone that asked me, and I probably should be doing this in a video series, and I might start, because I've gotten pretty good at reading the tea leaves. My advice was skip these movies when the Blu-rays came out. Because all you have to do is look at the particular studios. There's a lawnmower happening if you hear that in the background. You look at the particular studios' release patterns and how they do things. And you can predict pretty clearly what's going to happen. X, I said don't buy it because I know there will be a premium release from A24 in a 4K. Same for Min. There will be a premium A24. If they will do a premium release, now not a 4K, but they did a premium release for, it was a 4K, for Lamb, then they will certainly do one for one of these two movies that was much more successful than that one. I believe X, and I've said this from the beginning, I believe X, they were waiting for Pearl. I could foresee them doing a cool box set with both of those movies, maybe like Midsommar, which would be too big, and I would hate that, but I would be all about it and get it. I also said this about Everything Everywhere All at Once. They did put that out in 4K, but I believe that movie is so successful, we will get some kind of premium, very cool release for that movie. Now, I ended up with it because my girlfriend bought it when she saw it in the store because she really wants to watch it, and she still hasn't watched it, so that's another story altogether. But yeah, read the tea leaves. Now, I understand if you're a slipcover lover, then if you want that X slipcover, you kind of had to buy it. I don't know if they even still have slipcovers on that movie. But the thing is, major studio slipcovers are usually not that good. They're just a slip with the same artwork that's on the inside. So is it worth it? And if it is, okay. If that is that important to you, then understand you are going to probably pay the early adopter tax. And you could always wait and get the no slipcover version 4K of the movie that whatever you're talking about, X or whatever. Take your slipcover off the Blu-ray and slide it over the 4K. Then you got everything. Then flip the Blu-ray in the used place. Because there's plenty of people that would be fine with the Blu-ray. Even me, I'm to the point now where I prefer 4K most of the time. If a movie, though, was shot on digital and it's a 2K movie, I might think about just keeping my blue, depending on the extras. Because a lot of times the 4Ks that are coming out now don't have as much as far as extras, and they often, they're getting an upscale, which my player can do to some degree, and the HDR is not that good. Now if I hear the HDR is incredible, if we're talking Blade Runner 2049 levels of HDR and upscaling, then okay, then I'll do it. But I consider every purchase. It kind of is a pain in the ass for collectors because you have to consider every purchase. But I think that's the way to save money. If double dipping and paying that early adopter tax is a real problem for you, then you take some time and be a little bit more considering of what the particular company does traditionally. Now, when you say, X and Min both already have 4Ks in other countries, well, if you're just now realizing that Europe in particular gets better releases of movies on physical media than we do, Well, welcome to the party, because this is not new either. They have some incredible boutique companies over there that are doing even better, like higher end releases than even Arrow. I discovered Second Sight that way, and I import from them, pretty often because their releases are stellar. And you're talking about some German releases in particular. So we talk about, for example, I'm looking at my notes here. The X4K is a German release. Now, what happens is with those a lot of times is they're very limited runs. There's a company called Turbine that does 4K releases over there. And I'm not sure if they did the X release or not, but often they're super limited. And I find in reviewing some of them that the quality is low. It's a 4K scan, but the original, I believe it was the original 4K release that Turbine did for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, didn't even have HDR on it. So, who cares? If you're buying domestically and you're only buying domestically, you can't give a damn what's happening in other countries. Because understand that a lot of other countries don't have the access to high-speed internet that we have. Hence, the physical media markets over there are still per person higher. Like the market is bigger still. Their population might be lower, but the percentage of people that still buy a Blu-ray is higher. So there's more money to be made over there. And often what can happen is, I think in production, especially when you're reproducing or producing UHD discs, if they could sell over there first, make the cost back, and then dump it over here and see who wants to buy it, well, there you go. That's why 4Ks come out over there first. Now, if I see a 4K from a reasonable studio, Warner Brothers, for example, releasing Malignant over there, that tells me we're probably going to get it. And I can afford to wait a few months or 6 months or a year sometimes, depending on the movie. I can wait. There's plenty of other things for me to be watching until that comes here. Or if I get tired of waiting, I can just import it. There have been a few instances where I've imported Arrow 4Ks because I wanted to watch those movies now. And then they eventually did get released here. And you know what? It was exactly the same release. It just didn't have the UK rating symbol on it. I don't care. It's the same movie with the same extras, and it's still in a nice box. When you talk about Crimes of the Future, which is something that some people are up in arms about, that's released by a company called Decal. Now, Decal is doing a lot of neon releases, and they, I have to probably kind of give that one to you because that company is kind of sucks. I don't understand. It feels like every Blu-ray release that they've put out is full of artifacts, like encoding errors, compression issues. So the fact that they drop a Crimes Blu-ray and then 2 months later announce a 4K, well, okay, I'm not so surprised about that because they're kind of a shit company to begin with. But there are some reasons why this happens. Now, part of it you have to look at the size of the market now is small. So the facilities for producing discs have shrank. I mean, to my knowledge, there's 1 or 2 spots left. So you got to jump in line to get those discs made. So what happens is a movie comes out, like either on streaming or in theater or both, and there's a little hype around it. People liked it. Well, you have a small window of hype. So ultimately, these studios are looking at, in that window, if they can get the physical media out there, then they'll sell. They'll make some money. They can maybe turn that money around from the Blu-ray sales and drop it into the 4K. I'm not exactly sure if that's how it works, but I do understand and know the release window situation. I'm a filmmaker myself. I understand how this works. I have a film right now on hold because it's seasonal, and they're waiting for the season to put it out. So they need to get that movie out in the space where people's minds are on it before the next big thing comes out and takes the air out of the room. And you can produce a Blu-ray a hell of a lot faster than you can produce a 4K. So that's what's going to happen sometimes. They're going to drop that Blu-ray. And let's say with a movie like Malignant, I feel like they were taken aback by the interest in the movie. because it was poorly rated. It didn't do well in its initial release, so they didn't realize that there would be that much interest, and they come along later and do the 4K. I just feel that. I felt it developed a cult following over time. I still haven't watched it. I'm gonna get to it at some point. So understand that if you're buying a movie within a couple, 2-3 months of release and it's on a Blu-ray, then there will be a 4K. You're just getting it in the hype window. And if it's not a big enough window to push into the front of the line for production, let's say like the Black Phone is not a big enough movie to push in front of other big releases coming out. For example, we're about to get Top Gun, and you don't know how many of those they produced and how early they started. I understand this because I had a movie, one of my movies that was getting a DVD release, tag onto the end of a Disney release in production to make it cheaper. But then I had to go to the back of the line and ride that wave. So I know this. I'm not just guessing how this stuff works. I've been through it with my own independent films. And the smaller the film, the longer it can take sometimes to get in that window or get in that production space to get your discs made, because you're trying to make fewer discs too. So there's a lot of reasons that happens. Let's see. I just want to see if I have any other notes there. Those are the big notes that I have. So, and this is not new. We've had this. We had this really big time in the transition from DVD to Blu-ray, and I'm sure it happened in VHS to DVD also. So, this is the life of the collector. And it kind of sucks sometimes because I have done videos on here about how much I hate double dipping, but I would do it and I'll continue to do it if I have to buy a movie right when it comes out. And to be honest with you, major studio movies, I very seldom buy right when they're coming out. I have not bought X yet. I have not bought Men yet. I have not bought The Black Phone yet. And even though that's a smaller movie in the scheme of things, it's still pretty, a bigger studio, one of the main majors. And even things that have come out in 4K, I have fully decided to wait until Black Friday. Like, you look at a movie like the Brock movie, Doom. It's a crap movie, but I kind of enjoy it, so I want it. But I also know it would be dumb for me to pay $20 for that movie right now, because it will be $10 in November if I'm willing to wait just a couple of months. Will I get the slipcover? No. But is the slipcover the same artwork that's on the inside and on the outside? Yes. So if I'm not getting something... Now, I don't mean to devalue you if you want that slipcover, even though it is the same. I'm just telling you from my perspective. But you can't complain about the early adopter tax if you want to, have them slipcovers. There's a couple of other mutuals on here that I really like that have been kind of having their own kind of come to Jesus talks about this. I'm not a religious person, but that's just a saying that my grandma always used. And they've been a little more realistic about it, especially as it relates to Scream Factory. And I'm not calling any names either way. I'm just saying this is not something worth being so freaking hyperbolic about. It just annoys me because this ain't new, boys and girls. This ain't new. This is how it goes with early adopting and collecting. It's part of, the struggle that we have to bear as lovers of physical media. But that's the struggle anybody has to bear with collecting something where there's an upgrade possibility, whether it's physical media or electronics or a lot of things. And that's why I also often recommend don't collect physical media as an investment. If you have something factory sealed because it's out of print and you want it to, because it is worth money, you better flip that baby, because somebody is going to issue a 4K of it, or the rights are going to lapse and some other company is going to pick it up and it's going to get a new release, and all of a sudden your copy is going to go to pot. It's going to go to the dump. Now, there are exceptions to that, and if you're a collector that's collecting for investment, then that'll be something you have to research. I don't know that we're ever going to get a newer release of something like Dogma. I just don't know. That one is in such legal limbo with who owns it and where it is. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see that one. So if you've got one of those, then you probably got something. But, the Halloween box sets, the Scream Factory Halloween box sets, they're still worth some money, but not to somebody like me, because they're all coming out in 4K now. And they've even got more extras. So, anyway, I know this rant has gone a long time. I just want to say that if you're going to get on YouTube and talk about how the upgrade tax is destructive to the collecting community, I think being overly hyperbolic about something that is as it is and always has been is also kind of painful to the community. You can scare off new collectors with that. Now, I could see new collectors come in with this whole idea that, oh, why would I get into this? Because it's just a constant money suck and blah, blah, blah. Let's just be realistic. The thing is when this, I need to bring my camera back up where I can see what I'm doing here, because I have my Word open. When this is out now, if they drop a 4K of this tomorrow, this is still a great Blu-ray release. I don't have to buy that 4K immediately. Now, if that 4K comes out with a really nice slip, and especially if it comes out with new extras, I'm going to pay that upgrade tax, and I'm going to buy it right away, and I'm going to flip this one to somebody who doesn't give a crap about 4K, and there's plenty of people who don't. So, I could see if you have a really great projector in your media room space, but it's not 4K, but it's a great projector and you love it, you might not be hyped for the 4K train. You may have a great setup and you just may be buying Blu-rays, and there's people out there to like that. So, anyway, let me know what you think. Is this really a problem? Am I not being considerate enough? Is this really, really an issue? Or is this something us as collectors who've been doing it for a long time are used to and just have learned to live with? My biggest advice is read the tea leaves. Look at the movie, look at the studio that has put it out, and look at their pattern. You'll know. If it's coming out in Blu-ray, you'll know that eventually there's going to be a 4K. So here's my thing. This company is putting out a 4K of Crimes of the Future. I don't really like the company, and there's part of me that's even thinking I might skip that 4K. I might skip it and just wait a minute and see. It's a good movie. I really like the movie quite a lot, but there's a lot of David Cronenberg on Criterion. We've seen this with movies like Parasite that got multiple studio releases. It could happen again. So there's part of me that might wait till, maybe next summer and see where that movie stands, because it's not something I have to watch immediately again. I can wait. Or if I see that the 4K, when it does come out, eventually go on sale for $10, and I'm willing to pay that upgrade tax or the early adopter tax and buy it because I got it for cheap. And then when, the eventual Criterion 4K does come out, then I won't feel so bad about that. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let's talk about this. Sorry I got so fired up, but come on. There's worse things to be mad about right now. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV at home. I'll see you guys on the next one.